area.
Okay. So we can start.
I call to order the meeting of the Patton Township Board of Supervisors meeting, March 25th. To start off, this is a high-tech experiment. We've got participants participating via Zoom. We also, I'm sure, have an audience watching on CNET Channel 7, as well as via YouTube online. We do have provisions for citizens who are not present to give comments to the board. So if Doug, if you would explain that process.
Yeah, we have two channels that people can use. One, we have a dedicated phone line for tonight. The number's up on the screen. It's 814-996-4260. That'll ring right into the phone over here. And either Mr. Larry Pager or Mr. Steve Casson will answer that. We ask that you identify yourself, first and last name, street you live on. If you're at the right time, we'll try to we'll put you on speaker, let you talk. If not, one of these gentlemen will take your comment and we'll bring it up at the appropriate time in the meeting. Also, we have an email channel that's available. It's our township-wide email. Mr. Pager is monitoring that tonight, so if you want to comment by email, it's patton@twp.patton.pa.us.
We also have two of our supervisors participating remotely. Thank you. We have three supervisors participating remotely. Our board chair, Betsy Whitman. Say hi, Betsy.
Hello, everybody.
Also, board member Elliot Abrams. Elliot, say hi.
Hi.
Thank you. And board member Jessica Buckland. Jess?
Hey.
Thank you. First item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, so those of you here present can stand and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda are public comments. If members of the public wish to address the Board of Supervisors on an item that's not listed in the agenda, this is your time. Do we have any comments, Larry?
We have no emails and no calls, so no comments.
Anybody on Zoom wish to have a public comment? Okay, if none, we will proceed. Next item on the agenda is a presentation of a land development plan, Patton Crossing Phase 1, the Aldi store. So who's going to make the presentation?
I'm going to bring up. Let me find Nicole. If you can start talking, Nicole, I'll find you.
She's right there.
Who?
She's muted.
We lost Nicole.
Nicole?
Are you there, Nicole? No. Why don't let me start. Then we'll ask the applicant. Recall we had a master plan for this project that was approved back in 2019. What we have before us tonight is phase 1 of that project. It's a grocery store that's, well, let's call it the northwest corner of the site. There's a 20,442 square foot grocery store with the parking lot. Recall this is in the mixed use overlay district, MXD2. We developed those regulations along prior to the rezoning last year, and the master plan They're going to have, let me see if I can find the land development plan. Sites has 101 parking stalls. They also have plans for a bicycle rack. Vehicles will enter at the signalized intersection at Woody Crest Street. At this point, there are no changes required for the intersection other than the revamping of the entrance there, what used to be the mobile home park. The Planning Commission looked at the plan back in March, earlier in March. They had some comments regarding relocation of some lighting structure standards, addition of the sidewalk, and relocating some of the handicap parking. Aldi's considered all those suggestions and have incorporated them into this updated plan. With that, I think we'll turn it over to the applicant and let them make a brief presentation.
Good evening, Tony Fruchtel. I'm with Pantera Engineering. We're the civil engineer for the project. Also here tonight, Bob Poole. He's one of the partners in the ownership. Heidi Nicholas is on the Zoom cast. She's also one of the owners. Rory Gar's on the Zoom cast. He is representative of Aldi, which is the developer for this site. Yeah, so it's pretty much, for the supervisors that were here, it's pretty much what had been planned with the master plan. It's a 22,000 square foot grocery store in the corner, just like Doug had said. And that's all that's happening with this phase. I know with the master plan, we talked about different phases and what might be coming in when. There are future phases that are being considered right now, but this plan is just the subject. The subject is just this one corner. Can we move to Zoom, the next plan sheet, please?
Sure.
Yes, thank you. So this would be the corner of the site. Of course, this is the access Doug was talking about. It's the intersection with Woody Crest right here. So the site, stormwater for the site will be handled through underground facilities. It'll just be pipes under the ground. There won't be any infiltration. We did some testing out here. It was not optimal for infiltration, and there's a procedure for that through DEP, so we're using that procedure. There's actually a filter on the facility that will treat it. It's a proprietary device. It's a manhole. It's got filters in it. Keeps the sediment from going downstream. Sanitary sewer runs right along the front, so the project will be served for that sanitary line. That sanitary line will be replaced. It's substandard right now per UAJ standards. There's a water line, ties in on this corner of the site. That will bring water to the project through the site. There will be There will be landscaping along the front, along the street, along the front here per requirements for the township. It's also shown in the master plan. And let's see, access trucks will be able to enter the site. They get in here. There's a loading dock right here. Site's designed so that the trucks can pull in, back in, and then pull out. So there's no issue with trucks being able to get in and out. The dumpster is also located in here, so refuse trucks will be able to get in and out at that point. One of the other questions, concerns that came up from the Planning Commission was access from the street here. Currently pedestrians, or as previously designed I should say, pedestrians would have to walk down here, across here, and in. They asked if there couldn't be something over in this corner. The plans have been resubmitted, that there's now a sidewalk and a crossing right here. So anyone coming from Park Forest Avenue, they could access the site more directly, wouldn't have to walk the whole way around. Yeah, there's a sidewalk there, there's a crossing here. One of the comments we got from CATA, recognizing the fact that the site is not conducive to bringing buses through at this point, it will be eventually. They asked for commitment to put bus pads in here and here. Those are current CATA stops. We're just improving the stop, anticipating a few more riders getting on and off at that point because of this project. So those couple things were addressed as part of the comments from the Planning Commission. And I'd be happy to address any questions, or any of us would be happy to add any questions that you may have.
Board members have any questions?
No, mine's been answered.
Betsy or Elliot or Jess, do you have any questions?
I do have a comment. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Would just like to thank developers, the planners for incorporating the sidewalk from North African. It looks great. And then changing handicap spots. That's an excellent solution. Thanks for considering that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Dr. Buckland has.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey, I don't think this was answered, but about native plants. I had this about the other plans as well, that the plants that are planned are native.
Did you hear that?
Yes, yeah, so
The trees are needed.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if we had that instituted as a general rule now or what. Okay, thanks.
the trees are on the township's native plant list, and the shrubs are not on the invasive plant list, and they are part of the zone, the growing zone where we are, so they should thrive without being invasive. So both are meet the township requirements for, as written.
Great.
Just a note, it's very difficult to get shrubs that are native and that can survive in the challenging conditions of a parking lot nearby it. So they did well.
Thank you.
Is the CATA pull-off there, or is it just going to be on the street?
So the buses currently just stop on the street. We would be adding concrete pads for the passengers to stand off between the sidewalk and the curb. There will not be pull-offs added for the buses. One thing, it's anticipated that will be temporary. When future phases of the project come in, the buses will actually traverse through the site. So the request from CATA is, hey, we need to upgrade these a little bit in some way, but recognizing, I believe, that in the future, those stops may not even be utilized.
Just so we don't create a situation where there's a traffic backup every time the bus stops for some reason.
My assumption is those buses stop there now, so CATA must not have a problem with it?
Yeah, I think this is Doug Erickson. I believe the road's fairly wide there. It's at least 30 feet wide, so it shouldn't create an issue.
Any other questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, we'll move to public comments. Do we have a public comment, Steve?
No.
Not on this?
Nope, we have no public comments.
It was Miss
It was
Paul.
Nicole Pollock.
Yeah, she's back on now, so
Oh, okay.
hopefully we can have her share it with the next one, so.
She looks like she's fine.
Okay, any other comments or issues from anyone, board or public?
Nope.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved?
What's the motion is what, Elliot?
The motion is to accept the plan with the necessary notes that the engineer has and manager put on.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? If not, let's have a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No one's opposed, so the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the presentation of Colonnade Land Development Plan, Retail Stores E, F, and G.
Nicole, are you prepared to, did we lose Nicole again? Nicole, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Nicole? Looks like she froze up.
All right, Doug, I think you'll have to,
Mike unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Nicole, do you want to try and make it?
I hear you, Nicole. Anything?
Yeah, go ahead, Nicole. Do you want to introduce the Colonnade plan? I'll go ahead and do it. Mr. Swatala, you're with us. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we're all good. So let me do a little intro and then we'll turn it over to you, okay?
Okay.
As we noted,
You guys ready for the colony plan?
I'm sorry, couldn't understand that. Was that Nicole?
Right? Can you hear me? I can't really hear you, so somebody in the audience, if you can hear me now.
You're cutting in and out. Why don't let me do it and we can see if we can work through stuff. This land development plan includes the construction of, I don't have the total here, several storefronts ranging in size from 5,000 square foot up to 30,000 square foot. These would be the final storefronts. In the Colonnade development, let me pull up the land development plan. We'll use the nice rendering they provided us. This will fill in the area between Toft Avenue. Let me share this with the on-site folks.
you know, it's not Tough Trees Avenue. What?
No, I don't see it up here. Yeah, sorry, we'll have to work out some of these. I guess it is up there now, sorry. So this will fill in the area between the Target store on the left and Kohl's, which is across the maintenance road that goes to the back of the sites on the right. This is in the C2 planned commercial district. The necessary parking and lighting infrastructure and all that, it was previously constructed for these stores. The Planning Commission did look at this. They had asked for the addition of bike parking in front of Retail E, and I believe that's been added. Plus, I think they added some bench seating also. And with that, I'll ask Mr. Swatala to come in and give us his a rundown on the plan.
Sure. Thanks, Doug, and thank you, board, for the flexibility and being able to keep this going. So greatly appreciate it. And as Doug just said, this basically is the infill that has been planned for the Colonnade really since the master plan was done. On the master plan, it was noted previously as E, F, and G. And it's basically the same plan, but we've actually taken, as you can see on the drawing, and E has been divided up into 3 smaller spaces, just to add some flexibility to leasing. The pad itself is pretty much ready to go. I'm sure you guys have all been there and drove through. It's the vacant lot between Target and Kohl's. So there's very little work that we need to do. The utilities have been stubbed up already. The only thing we have to do from a utility standpoint is there's 3 stubs provided, I think it was E, F, and G. So we do need to have 2 more for the smaller E spaces. But again, that's not necessarily an issue out there. We'll be doing some work in the parking lot itself, creating new striping, new overlay, new sidewalk thing. As Doug mentioned, we will be adding a bike rack and benches in this area to accommodate pedestrians and bike facilities. And we will have a small landscaping area on the east side between this development and Kohl's, and those are native plantings on there as well. So overall, it's pretty straight, and it's basically an infill from what has been planned in the master plan. We're just finally getting to it now. As I know today, there's no signed leases or tenants, but obviously we're looking to do something out there, so we want to get this approved so we can move forward with the rest of this development in the following age.
Any comments or questions from Board of Supervisors?
I do have one question.
Sounds like.
So, as we all know, we're living in rather precarious economic times right now. Do you anticipate that that will impact the schedule of the building of this planned development?
I do not know anything. I think Joe might be present in the room with Allied Properties. We've been directed to keep going forward, so that's a good sign.
Very good,
So
yeah.
That's all I know on my end.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, they've got some work they can do following this approval, but at this point, I mean, they can finish up the plans and start their architectural drawings. I don't know where they are, but per the governor's order on non-life sustaining businesses, construction is considered a non-life sustaining business, so all construction's been suspended. And in support of that, we've suspended all permitting activities in the township. So they've got some internal things they can work on, but the actual groundwork won't be able to stop until the pandemic emergency is lifted.
Right. For sure. Thank you.
Any other board members have a comment or question?
No?
Public comments. Have we received any public comments or questions?
We have not.
Okay, no public comments or questions. So let's have a motion. Is there a motion?
So,
Again, specify your motion, Elliot.
the motion is to approve this plan
Is there a second?
With conditions as noted by
with
the planning
conditions
commission.
as specified on the paperwork.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? If not, let's move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? So it's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, good luck to you.
Next item on the agenda, Dr. Jessica Buckland has tendered her resignation from the Patton Township Board of Supervisors effective at the end of today's meeting. So the first thing we need to do is accept her resignation if we so desire. I'm inclined not to accept it, so we force her to stay on the board, but
Unfortunately, under state law, it becomes effective after 45 days when she rendered it, despite what you like, so.
It'll be a big loss.
Truly.
Yeah,
we all agree it'd be a big loss. Dr. Buckland has really served the township admirably as a supervisor, a member of this board. So thank you very much for that, Jessica. Is there a motion to accept her resignation?
I reluctantly move to accept the resignation of Dr. Jessica Buckland.
I reluctantly second that.
So the motion's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Can we have a moment that each member has a minute to say something to Jessica?
Supervisor Rob has asked if members of the Board of Supervisors wish to address Dr. Buckland. Would you like to start?
Yes.
Jess? Pam, go ahead.
Dr. Buckman, and I say this with a heavy heart, and I understand that you are going to be truly missed, and you have no idea the accolades that you have been given by board members, staff, people that I have run into on the committees, how much they are going to miss you and your wisdom and commitment and dedication. So from my heart, and I'm heavenly saying this, I understand and truly are going to miss your wisdom, your friendship, and your dedication. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. We'll still be in touch.
I know.
Anyone else wish to address Dr. Buckland?
Yes.
Go ahead, Elliot.
Well, you couldn't have said it better. Jess has been outstanding in everything she's done, from when she's just gone to meetings to make sure we were doing what we were supposed to, until she started doing the job herself. And you will be sorely missed.
Thank you, Elliot. I'll miss working with you.
Anyone else?
I'll go next.
Okay, Betsy.
Yeah, so a lot of things I'm feeling and said a couple of meetings ago, but I would like to emphasize, Jessica, that you approach challenges and projects from a different perspective, one that I think is rare and extremely valuable. We're able to look at challenges through eyes of others and ask off-the-wall questions, which got us to think about things a little differently. Very critical, very important. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pam.
I'll add
You might consider a career in psychology.
I'll add a comment. I've already expressed personally to Dr. Buckland my sentiments about how much I enjoyed and appreciated and really valued her service to the board and the personal interactions we've had. I will make one point here publicly to acknowledge that her dedication to service to the township was so great. She was, I think, ready to retire much earlier than now, but because she agreed to chair the search committee for the COG executive director, she continued to serve and postponed her retirement until after that job was completed. And it was definitely took a tremendous amount of time because of the number of candidates that the committee had to review and the whole process. So she'll be sorely missed. And I did remind her that when her personal situation settles down, she's welcome to come back to the board, run for election and join us again. And thank you, Dr. Buckland. So I will now call for a vote. All those in favor of accepting her resignation? say aye.
Aye.
We're-
Aye.
With a lot of reluctance, aye.
Yeah.
There are no nay votes, so the motion passes. Next item is, now we have a vacancy on the Board of Supervisors, and the board needs to decide how we are going to fill the vacancy. I see three options, and Doug can correct me if there's more. One is to open the search publicly and request applicants who are interested in filling this vacancy. It's the same process we did when we had a vacancy earlier. Second option would be to, since there are three remaining applicants to the first vacancy, we chose one of the four, Pam Robb, so there are three remaining applicants. We could review or consider those three. And the third option would be to come up with an entirely new process that we have not discussed. So I'd like to hear board's comments on how they would like to proceed. Who would like to start?
I recommend that we follow this item that you mentioned second, which is that we consider the three remaining applicants as viable applicants for this nomination to fill the board position.
I would move that we appoint Anita Tees if we do that.
Well, before we move, we go to a motion, let's agree on a process.
Oh, I said if we did that. if that were-
Okay. Any other discussion of process?
I agree
I
with
want to
that.
say that, in light of the way things are going right now around us, I think the more streamlined, the better. The fewer extra meetings and people you have to have in place, the better. It seems like we already have these applicants that, I don't think it's exactly up to me, but it seems like in light of the COVID stuff, it makes sense to streamline as much as possible.
Right.
Get it filled and streamlined.
Okay. Pam, did you have a comment?
I agree with the
Okay.
second suggestion.
Thanks, and I agree also. So the consensus is that we consider the three remaining applicants after the first vacancy was filled. So now I'll accept your motion, Elliot.
I move that we appoint Anita Tees. Any of the three would be excellent people to appoint, but Anita has been in the forefront of a lot of our interviews and also at the meetings many times with excellent comments.
Second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second to appoint Anita Tees to the vacant position. Any discussion?
I think she can hit the ground running, and I think it's a great choice.
I hope she doesn't hit the ground.
You know what I mean.
I know.
Any other discussion?
I agree. She's been to several of the meetings. She's done the research. She's not only at the board meetings, but the planning board meetings and other meetings. So I think she'd be an asset to this board.
Yes.
Okay.
And not only,
Go
I
ahead.
was
Go
wanted to
ahead.
add, not only has she been at the meetings, she is the self-appointed conscience of many of those meetings and discussions. She brings invaluable information and perspective to whatever she puts her head to and heart. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, if not, let's move to a vote to appoint Anita Tees to the vacant position on the Board of Supervisors. All in favor, say aye.
Am I voting?
Yes,
Am I voting?
yes,
Oh,
you're still a member.
Well, I think technically you should probably abstain, Dr. Buckland.
Okay, so we'll accept.
The code envisions that there's 4 people remaining,
Right, okay.
so.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you for the clarification. All in favor again?
Well, you want to designate a date?
Well,
Or you can do that after.
Let's do that after.
Okay.
Okay, we've had 3 ayes, right?
Yeah.
And
I said aye.
I vote aye as well, so all 4 of us have
Aye.
approved the motion. So congratulations, Anita Tees, you are now chosen to join us on the Board of Supervisors.
Does she know this is coming, or is she just gonna get a phone call saying, come to the next one?
Well, I believe she's listening in.
Yes, she,
Fantastic.
I think she's watching, she's either watching the live telecast on Channel 7 or via the computer.
Great.
So, appointment date, effective date between March 30th and April 3rd. Does it depend at all on Anita's? Or can we just?
I mean, the appointment doesn't become official until she files those 2 documents, the oath of office and the statement of financial interest. And she can fill those out. We'll have to figure out how to get the oath of office notarized, but we'll figure something out. We'll probably have to go to her front door and do something along those lines.
Does April 1st as a effective date give you enough time?
Yeah, that should be.
Okay, I'll entertain do we move on that or just?
Yeah, because it needs to be filled in on
Okay.
the resolution.
Is there a
I
motion?
move that that Anita Teese's upcoming term start on April 1st. I won't mention that it's also known as April Fool's Day, so take it if you dare, Anita.
It's always good to have some positive action on April Fool's Day.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
not a joke. There's a motion to make her appointment effective April 1st. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Trevino.
Yes.
Anita has emailed in, "Dear Board, I've been watching you on CNET and want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to serve the township."
Thank you, Anita. So I guess it didn't matter to you, Anita, what date we choose, or you might have mentioned that.
She did not mention it.
Okay, did someone second the motion?
Yes.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed? No one's opposed. So, thank you.
So the April 1st,
April 1st.
2020.
Correct.
For the record.
April 1st, 2020. All right. Next on the agenda is a consent agenda. There are a number of issues, or not issues, there are a number of items on the consent agenda. Does any board member wish to pull any one of these items out for discussion separately?
Do not?
I have a question. Was is the letter from Doug to the Vira Boulevard resident on the consent agenda?
I think it's on the manager's update.
Then I'll wait.
Okay.
I'll wait.
So I'll accept a motion on approving the consent agenda items. Anybody wish to make a motion?
I move that we accept the consent agenda items.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 No opposed, so the motion passes. Next item is public safety, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Public safety police report. Chief Jolly.
Thank you. Copy of the public safety report for February 2020 was included in board materials. Seems like so long ago that we're talking about February now. But real quickly, just to run through some of the stats we normally bring to your attention. Traffic stops, we had 189, wrote 42 citations, 49 parking tickets, and 16 criminal arrests. Still no bike patrol in the month of February. A few of the department notes, we had a 25-year-old male arrested for felony burglary, trespass, and simple assault. This male actually forced his way into an ex-girlfriend's apartment and physically assaulted 2 occupants inside. The next 3 are drug-related. One was an ongoing drug investigation by the Drug Task Force, resulting in an arrest for methamphetamine delivery. One was from a traffic stop, officer smelling marijuana and arresting a 22-year-old male for DUI under the influence of marijuana. We had 5 individuals who were arrested for retail theft, 3 arrested for DUI, 3 individuals arrested for possessing drug paraphernalia. Our officers were able to successfully serve 5 of the arrest warrants that they attempted, of the 11 that they attempted. Some of the community relations activities on page 2. Officer Carter provided a tour of our station to a Daisy troop of 11 girls, February 3rd. Officer Carter spoke with a Cub Scout den at the Grays United Methodist Church on the 5th. Sergeant Shapanko spoke with a student about a project they were completing on how law enforcement responds to autistic individuals. Officer Vardzell hosted a ride-along, and Officer Tusovich spoke with ACRES, which is the Adults Creating Residential and Employment Solutions Project Day Group, about the safety and interacting with law enforcement. On the bottom there of page 2 is a thank you note we received from PAC 375, the Lion Den, that Officer Carter hosted them at our station. The next page, next 2 pages actually, are a letter. Very proud of the agency in their response to a missing juvenile. With a young man that was missing, and the collaboration between Patton, Ferguson, and Penn State Police to bring him home safely to his parents. Just a fantastic letter. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Hopefully you get a chance to take a look at it, though. It's really a testament to the agency and to the all officers, the caliber of officers that we have working for us. The monthly report here from training and different department activities. Detective Chris Fedorenko went to the annual Negotiators Conference, which was held in Baltimore, Maryland. Officer Snyder, Officer Schaefer, and Officer Tuskovich attended tactical team training. Our officers finished up our yearly in-service training, so we're pretty much all up to speed and certified for another year with MOPEC. And our officers assisted the Alcohol Task Force with State Patty's Day. I'm happy to report there weren't really many big issues with that event this year. I attended a safety fair planning meeting, which I think Doug has something he's going to bring up later on, but we're postponing the safety fair from the May 16th date. We're looking at September 12th now. It's the only away Penn State football game in September. So September 12th is going to be the new date we're shooting for. But I attended a mental health task force meeting on the 20th. The Campus Community and Unity meeting on the 24th, and then was the guest speaker for the Patton Township Business Association luncheon here on the 26th. The record list of all the calls for service, you'll see we had 354 calls in the month of February, down slightly from January where we had 428. And the last thing I just wanted to mention real quickly is we are still moving forward with our testing and our hiring. We're currently still accepting applications until April 3rd. Our written testing is going to be on April 11th. We do not require Act 120 or the Police Academy, so anybody is welcome to apply. We are coming up with some alternatives for testing, the written testing, looking at potentially having it at 2 locations and multiple times possibly, just so we can limit the amount of people that we have in the testing area at one time. But that is still moving forward, so you can go to our website, the township website, and get information, and the application handbook and the application are on there as well. So, and that's all I
Thank you,
have.
Chief.
Yep.
Any questions or comments from the board? Jess?
When I read that letter, I definitely got teary. That juvenile was a friend of my son's, and he was really worried that night. And then just finding out it was one of our wonderful officers who helped out, and that he was so careful to use the right pronouns. Those things seem so small, but they're so meaningful. And I was just so happy to hear that was noticed and to hear about it. So I was really proud. I felt really good about that. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and thank you. I mean, and the letter was fantastic. I've actually shared that with a couple of the different groups with permission from the family. But yeah, it was a fantastic letter, really well written, and it really touches your heart. So, yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Betsy's got.
Is that Betsy?
So once again, I'm referencing the coronavirus pandemic that we're staring down. I'm wondering what kind of training that your officers are receiving and what, if any, kind of personal protection equipment is available or will be available. And before I forget to say it, I have many heroes in this world in these days, and our police officers are one of them, especially with this coronavirus. So, yeah, what's up with them?
Yeah, so all first responders, police, fire, EMS, definitely, and we're all working very closely together. We met with the Center Region Emergency Response Group yesterday to talk about some of those different things. So the officers are receiving emails, different guidance from the CDC, from the state, basically daily. We are updating them and giving them new guidance. But we do have some contingencies set up if in the event that if we have anybody get sick, we have different scheduling contingencies. But we are taking a proactive approach and trying to keep them healthy, keep them safe, encouraging good eating, good sleeping, social distancing. We are on some calls kind of scaling back a little bit on certain EMS calls where typically we would go inside to assess a patient. Now we may be waiting outside for EMS to see if they need any assistance. So they're receiving guidance basically daily from myself, from the CDC, from the county EMA, and from our local EMA. As far as PPE goes, we're in pretty good shape with that. We have N95 masks for the officers. We also have disposable masks that we can give to patients or to individuals we are encountering who we feel may have an exposure. We also have gowns, we have eye protection, and plenty of latex gloves to get us through. So we're in pretty good shape on PPE, but we're constantly monitoring that to make sure that we're at the level we need to have. So.
Well, I'm relieved to hear that, and I just want to emphasize, please be safe out there. I know you will.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments or questions for the chief? Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, manager's report.
Yes, I tried to take a lot of what would normally be in the various sections of the agenda and combine them into a single report with several attachments, I guess, but you can see that there were 8 items that we wanted to provide updates on. If anybody has questions about any of those, be glad to discuss those with the board.
Dr. Buckland, you had something you wanted to bring up?
Oh, so I saw your letter to Mr. Hitty, I guess, on Byron Boulevard. I just thought it was such a nice letter and so like supportive of him. I couldn't see the email that he originally sent, but I just wanted to thank you for just sending such a nice email to someone reaching out. I don't know what exactly he was asking, but I don't know, I just really liked the letter for what it's worth. Thought it was kind and supportive.
Well, people come from different areas of the country where they have different standards. Right. We're more of a dark sky community than a lot of urban areas, so I think that was a difference that he noted, and I tried to explain, you know, our approach here. So.
And it would have been easy to just send a little email without anything of substance, and I just thought it was so nice that you had substance in it. So
thank you.
Thanks for doing that.
Any other questions or comments for Doug on his report? If not, we'll move on to committee reports.
Well, let me just mention a couple other things. There have been a lot of changes with the census in the last 2 weeks. I gave the board a little update. Essentially, everything's being moved back or extended or delayed. If you do have received your census form at home, please respond. Again, there's 3 ways to respond, either online, by mail, or wait for somebody to come to your home. But don't worry about the April 1 date at this point. We're trying to communicate to college students who live off campus that when you do report, you should report Patton Township as your home. It's very important to us, and that message will continue to be pushed out from all categories. Otherwise, as Chief Jolly had noted, we've rescheduled the Children's Safety Fair from May to September. Also, the latest couple of COVID updates is household hazardous waste collection was scheduled for late in April. It's been postponed until further notice. You may see some, the bulk trash may occur earlier than it was planned in May, but there'll be plenty of advertising if that gets going, be coordinated through COG and advanced waste disposal. The only other COVID update I had was the governor has extended his stay-at-home order to now include Lehigh and Northampton counties in addition to the original 7, and then Erie County was added yesterday. Again, Northampton and Lehigh have been added today. End of my report.
Okay, other reports, ad hoc facilities, Mr. Pegger?
So the ad hoc facilities met at the beginning of March on the 3rd, and we discussed Millbrook Marsh. They have a working group that met the day before that on the 2nd. Their goal is to draft a feasibility study using some money from the DCNR and money that's in the budget. The small repair products on the boardwalk were supposed to be done by mid-April, so I'm sure that's been put back by now. And that would allow them to open the 2 closed sections to complete the loop. The other closed portion, which includes 2 more sections, will remain closed until they get the feasibility study. There was talk about the code renovation project, which was supposed to be completed by 5/31, so I don't know where that stands. We talked about bids being received on the parking lot to put in some, to redo the parking lot for the code building and to put in some ADA compliance that's not in the parking lot. They talked about the sidewalk repair surrounding the block that the library is on, and they're at the very beginning of that project, but the bricks that are inlaid in there are starting to heave. So they're gonna look at repairing that, and hopefully the borough and CATA will be kicking in on that. The last thing we talked about, or one of the last things talked about, was our next site visits, which they're gonna go out and look at probably the Patton Township Fire Station and the Park Forest Pole to do a site visit and see what needs to be done in those locations. They reclassed some money. They allocated $15,000 of the $50,000 that we put away for study on the COG building, since we didn't need it with Mr. Frank being our intern. We allocated $15,000 to repair the windows and do they talked about a study of the windows, but they may just repair the windows, we'll see. And there was some talk of preparing for the facilities coordinator, and we had homework to create a vision statement. And that was the end of the meeting. Did I catch everything, Dan?
Yes,
Okay.
more than I remember. So you have good notes. Thank you. Human Resources, Dr. Buckland.
You covered that for me. You covered it for me.
Oh, okay, as far as so there was nothing in addition to the executive director search?
No.
Okay. Solar Power Purchase Agreement Working Group?
Okay, so the Solar Power Purchase Agreement Working Group last met on the 4th. It was supposed to meet today, but that meeting was canceled. Met on the 4th of March. And we discussed a cost-sharing agreement, which was going to the boards as revised. We discussed the RFP for the energy consultant. They put together a working group to create the RFP. All members are going to get to see all the responses to the RFP. And then we discussed a revised timeline because things are moving back, which was going to be revised again. So that was the end of that meeting.
Okay, Finance Committee, I'll report on that. The main item on the agenda was discussion about the regional parks loan. The final drawdown date was coming up after it had been revised a couple of times. And so the discussion is, since the construction on Whitehall Road Regional Park hasn't really started yet, and we're coming up on the deadline to draw the loan, what should we do as far as the different options? We had asked Mr. Chris Gibbons from Concord Public Financial Advisors, who had advised us previously on these revisions to the loan, to attend, and he gave us options, discussed different options, and the board decided to ask him to go ahead and meet with Fulton Bank to try to revise the loan one more time as far as extending the drawdown period and hopefully getting a lower interest rate because of the current interest rate climate being positive for COG. The Finance Committee did approve to pay Mr. Gibbons $6,000, up to $6,000.
That's correct.
For his consulting work on that, and give us a report at our April meeting. The other thing on the agenda was discussion about a long-range strategic plan for, related to finance. I had asked our finance director, Larry Pager, to give some comments to the board because of Larry's extensive work history in industry. So he had quite a bit of experience with strategic planning process. So he did give the Finance Committee some suggestions and ideas that the Finance Committee will be considering. I believe that was those are the two main items that we discussed. Anything to add, Larry, because you were there?
No, that was it.
Next committee, Public Services and Environment. Ms. Whitman?
Yes, I apologize. I'm out of town. I don't have my note with me at that meeting, so I'm drawing from memory. The joint proposal to change the refuse and recycling time, which was to change it from starting at 7 o'clock to starting at 6 o'clock a.m. during the months between Labor Day and Memorial Day, was voted down, actually by a vote of 2-2, I believe. There was concern that starting it earlier would violate noise ordinances in Ferguson and other townships. I believe that we will revisit that again another year. The reason for changing it from 7 until 6 was was out of concern for the workers' health. And I apologize, I don't think I represented those issues in enough detail and got feedback from our board. I actually voted to change the time to start at 6. So when we revisit that, I will give more data, details on that. The update on the organic waste alternatives, what I remember from that is the most viable solution is to look right now at drop-off, they're called drop-off points. The active one now is the Hallbaker facility, where people now drop off lawn waste. and I guess that's it for, at no charge, that would then continue to be that drop-off point and promoting it more and see how that would go. And we do have the greenhouse gas emission reduction resolution, which we are looking at. We did some tweaking, but again, I don't have my notes there, so I apologize.
All right,
That's it.
thank you. Public safety, Pam Brown.
Public safety, we had the fire director, Stephen Bear, present the year in review for the Regional Fire Protection Program. Call volume during 2019 that were 1,174 incidents, with a 13% drop down from 1,308 incidents in 2018. The reduction was attributed to several reasons. One, because we only had one real rough storm and mild weather. The code administration had actively been focusing on automated alarms. And a lot of the fire responses were due to the automatic alarms that sometimes were set off just to test the alarm system, and because they had malfunction systems. Another reduction was contributed to fewer fraternities that meant fewer automatic alarms. Also, the procedures in place to close their kitchens after hours helped the reductions in the fire responses. In conclusion, there were program missions, standards of care, number and types of calls, program assets, and future major issues confronting COG, the municipalities, and the fire services. On the COVID briefing, the Public Safety Committee received a briefing from the Center Region Emergency Management Coordinator, Sean Kaufman, regarding activities and discussions that are occurring relating to the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Due to when the committee met until now, the data and updates continually changes. So the briefing of the COVID-19 should be left to the designated officials for accurate information to be given out at this critical time. The Emergency Management Coordinator will provide an informational report regarding the discussions occurring locally regarding the COVID-19, and more broadly, the response and community infrastructure in place for the region. And finally, the proposal for the CRCA purchase of a hybrid SUV vehicle. I would like to put that on hold because of the CRCA purchase of the hybrid SUV vehicles at this time due to the COVID-19 crisis and the possibility of the unseen financial situations that might occur. Purchasing expensive items at this time is being reviewed and discussed. And finally, the staff updates. The code administration status on COD software study has been put on hold because the next phase of that process were to travel to other locations for demonstrations. This ends my report.
Thank you. Executive Committee, Elliot?
We learned at the executive committee that basically the executive committee is going to be assuming the work of the general forum, which is good and bad. First, it expedites things, but second, it raises the possibility of conflicts. So I'd really like everyone on the board to let me know of any issues that they see coming up that need to be discussed. I think in the, just looking at the calendar, I think the next exec meeting was on the 16th of April, and we have a meeting on the 8th, so you won't have seen that agenda yet. And I'll have to figure out a way to get it to you. But the main thing is I want to hear from everybody, because it doesn't do any good for me to guess what the best decision is for us.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. Now that the General Forum passed the resolution to make the Executive Committee the substitute for General Forum votes, except for items requiring a unanimous vote of the General Forum. Otherwise, the General Forum really doesn't have any reason to meet. So the Exec Committee is the last monthly committee meeting of all the different committees, and they will assume that role. So it's, I think, I agree, Elliot, thank you very much for reminding us about that, so that all the members of the supervisors should pay attention to the agenda items that are going to come before the executive committee each meeting, and give you our feedback.
Okay, Dad, one thing that might work would be for us to set up some type of a Zoom meeting that would include the ability for citizens to offer their comments, since we have to deliberate in public before each would-be forum meeting. That may be too unwieldy, but with the sunshine law and everything, and just the way we always operate, nothing's hidden, and so we want to maintain that.
That's a good point. So we'll have to check with our manager whether, you know, how to set that up.
I mean, we can't talk 5 people among ourselves if it's not a public meeting.
Correct. No, you're right. It's against the
So
sunshine
that's
law.
problem A.
Yeah, right. Okay, we'll take that up as needed. Any other comments or reports from the board?
Just one more comment. Anita has said that April 1st is fine with her.
Okay, Anita agreed that April 1st, starting date for her as a member of the board, is fine. Thank you. Any other reports, board members or staff?
Transportation and land use was
Oh,
canceled.
sorry, did I miss that?
Yeah, no, it
Oh,
was
it was
canceled,
canceled.
so
Okay.
we needed to put that on record.
There was a summary of the State College Borough Water Authority included in the agenda. Mr. Downsboro did report that the Center County Airport Authority did cancel their meeting last month. He also noted that traffic is way down. He noted one morning there was only 4 people left through University Park Airport, and hence revenues are way down for the authority too. So he'll keep updating us on airport authority issues as they come.
I have one more thing to bring up. You reminded me of George's report about the tremendous economic disruption of this COVID-19 and all the changes and closures of businesses and so forth. We can certainly anticipate that township revenues are going to fall this year to some degree. I know that the staff is currently occupied with just trying to manage the daily changes in the requirements that we have to adjust to, given directives that are coming down from the governor's office and otherwise and other sources. It's a little early, but I think I would hope that our manager and our finance director will start looking at the long term for our township budget this year in terms of predicting or trying to guesstimate what kind of revenue reduction we might anticipate for this year, and then maybe ways that the staff are going to try to kind of reduce some expenditures if at all possible. So would a month be sufficient time for the staff to generate
Yeah,
some
we-
kind of a report to the board?
Yeah, we had started working on some of that information prior to the pandemic. We'll get back into that and had those discussions with Larry also about looking at revenues, but we'll bring you a report back later in April. These
Yeah, I
are
think-
our best projections at this point, and we'll probably, I think, be doing monthly updates on that.
That would be great. Thank you. Anybody on the board have any other final comments or questions?
I do.
Yes, go ahead, Elliot.
Well, on a lighter note, I'm reminded about how Tom Hanks tested positive for the virus, but he survived 4 years on an island as a castaway. He spent a year in an airport without being able to leave, caught AIDS in Philadelphia, was in World War II and rescued Private Ryan, was in Vietnam and rescued Lieutenant Dan, was on a boat kidnapped by Somali pirates and survived. He survived the Apollo 13 trying to reach the moon and landed a Boeing on the Hudson River. So if something happened with him, we're all in trouble.
Thank you, Elliot. On that note, Pam, go ahead.
Jessica, on behalf of the board, the staff, and all that you have touched, we have a basket for you to say thank you. I'm just speechless to be the person that's saying, I hope you enjoy this. I hope you know how much you are loved by this board, this staff, and each and every one that signed the card. And those who didn't, you are definitely on the card, so don't worry. So
Thank you so much.
we hope you enjoy it and truly know how much you are loved.
I did not expect anything like that at all. I really am very, very touched. I do want to say, I'm a better person, a more informed citizen, and sort of humbled by being able to be a part of this and work with all of you. We have amazing staff. Special thank you, especially to Larry and Doug, who have entertained my questions and all my confusion for years, and you've always been so helpful and supportive. And sometimes I just want the citizens to know how amazing our staff are. I know for you, maybe it's just another day at the office, but you keep everything running, and I just sort of, I wish everybody knew. And it's just been such a pleasure to work with everybody. It was a really, really hard decision to leave, and I'm really touched that everybody went to any of this trouble. I didn't expect that, and I'm sad I can't be there tonight. So thank you so much for everything. It's very humbling. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Meeting adjourned.
Be healthy, everyone.